Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going, close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he? Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again for another week of the Pick and Go podcast. Test rugby action's really starting to heat up this weekend, so got a lot to talk about, and very pleased to be joined by the special guest once again of the Pick and Go podcast, Stephen Donald. Thanks very much. How are you?
How are we, guys? Very good. Very excited about this weekend. The All Blacks starting, so it should be good.
Yeah, no, can't wait. And you've probably heard to my right here, we've got the great Carl Tiley and Paul Moati as well in the studio, as always. How are you, chaps?
Yeah. No, do you notice Pat said my name first there, Paul?
Yeah, I guess that makes me chopped liver.
You're in a real mood today.
Well, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, no, I'm very reluctant to get into that, so I'm going to move along very swiftly.
Okay.
Obviously, as Beaver mentioned there, we've got big test coming up. Well, a test coming up. The All Blacks taking the park for the first time in 2021 against Tonga. The team's been named about an hour ago or so. Come across the wires there. Few new faces or a different look to the team. Beaver, I'll throw to you first as probably the man with the most experience in All Black camp out of the four of us. Probably, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any sort of takeaways you've got from seeing that team on the park? Do you think there's anything to read into that, or it's just sort of the guys who are, Fossey's gone with?
Oh, look, I don't think there's anything whatsoever to read into it. I think everyone's going to get a run in the next 3 weeks, but obviously Quinta Pye's getting a run, and that's obviously getting him out there and about. Obviously, midfield, which I'm sure we'll probably touch on later in the podcast, is probably a position that's well and truly up for grabs. Weber getting a start at 9, he doesn't get many, so it's well deserved for him. And obviously in the most talked about position of all, Richie Mo'unga gets first crack at it. But as I say, I don't know if there's a whole lot that can be read into the first All Black team.
I'm glad you've said that, because that really cuts down on the amount of content we can get out of this podcast. So
That's it. We've covered everything.
As I try to come up with some talking points here. But yeah, I think you touched on the main one. Probably Quinta Pye was the name that I was maybe most surprised to see. And you quite often see these bolters named in the first squad of the year, but it's usually pretty rare they're thrown out in the first test of the year, given, I suppose, the All Blacks do like to sort of get a bit of
momentum.
Build up. Were you guys surprised to see him there in the midfield, or just, I suppose it's so like with Braden Ennor and Leonard Brown now out with injury, not many options, right?
Yeah, it's probably the jersey that's most up for grabs. And Quinn's obviously done enough to get the first crack at it. It's either obviously going to be out of him or David Havili. I would have liked to seen Havili have a go, given how well he went in Super Rugby, but it's probably a good game to blood the young fella in, and I don't think there's going to be any issues in terms of baggage or blowing out or losing, or it's going to be a pretty comfortable win for the All Blacks, and probably a nice way to settle into your All Black career.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. It's probably the best chat, because Fiji will be a tougher test the next couple of weeks, you imagine. So if you do want to give the guy a run, this is a few of those Fijian midfielders have come over from Europe, pretty devastating ball runners. So I imagine they're keen to get him on the park and get a few runs under his belt. How about you, Paul? Were there any other takeaways you had from the 15 named today?
Yeah, I agree with Beaver. I think we're going to see probably everyone get a go over this test, and then the 2 against Fiji as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Finlay Christie get a start in one of the 2 tests against Fiji, and that midfield get sort of jumbled around again next week or the week after. So I don't think we can read too much into the makeup of the squad or the makeup of the squad in the next 2 tests. It's just a matter of, I guess, giving those new caps a bit of a go and just seeing what sort of combinations we can come up with. I don't think the All Blacks will be taking a hell of a lot out of this game. In fact, I think they'll be very, very happy to get through it without any injuries. That'll be the biggest plus.
Beaver, can I just ask you? I was just going through your test career before, and just having a look at who you've played against and saw some of the scores that you'd run up. And the 2008 test versus Samoa was the one that stood out.
Yes.
101 to 14, I think it was.
Yeah.
What's it like playing in a test match like that, which I imagine this could very much easily turn into, where you are expected to run up the score, you do run up the score, and it's just a blowout.
Yeah, well, that one was actually a funny one because that one got thrown in. We had a big break in the Tri Nations, and that one got thrown in about a week before we were supposed to play it. Play in New Plymouth, and we were playing Brisbane for the Bledisloe and the Tri Nations. It was all on the line for the last game, so they wanted us to have one. And although you'd think it's a lot of fun, racking up that sort of scoreline, I remember getting thrown on at half time because the big boys did the job for the first half, and they threw us on in the second half. And there was a fair bit of pressure because it was all of a sudden 100 was on, and well, I actually had to put a kick over in the last play to actually make 100. So although you'd think it was all beers and skittles, I was feeling all sorts of heat to try and make sure I didn't let anyone down.
You did score with what was almost your first touch of a little flick pass from Jerome Kino. I just watched the highlights. And maybe something just to keep you at ease that you guys run up more of a score in the second half than you did the first half. So
possibly that team should have started.
Perhaps you were the big dog. Yeah,
there we go.
No, just actually going back to the team and talk about talking points. I just look at Scott Barrett in at lock, and obviously when the big man's back from Japan with Brody, he's going to be somewhere. Will we see Scott Barrett experimented over the next couple of weeks at 6?
Oh, I've got flashbacks to the 2019 semi-final.
Wow.
Don't know.
Yeah, there's an interesting one.
I think the Lucy's are probably, I've got it noted down here, the Lucy's are probably our strongest section of players that we've got. I mean, these three guys named are perhaps the weakest combination that we could have put out, and they are still going to get a start in any country, in any team in the world.
Who's your starting 3 then? If this is the weakest group, who's your starting 3 against Aussie in the opener?
I'm a big fan of Hoskin Satutu, Adi Savea, and maybe Akira as well. Like I love those massive ball runners. The big the way I've got a feeling that this is the way we're sort of changing. I think I mentioned it last week that we're going towards the big ball running first, ball running player who can pilfer at the ruck, but is more razzle dazzle and score points first rather than save points, if that makes sense.
Ball in hand.
Not getting a lot of yeses.
No, I should.
Okay. All right.
No, yeah, we might because touch on the squad as a whole now. That was I was interested to hear your thoughts on where you think we are strongest as a whole. But the loose forwards are an area I had circled as well. Hoskin Satutu for me, I think it's just a matter of when, if not when. When, not if, he claims one of those jerseys for himself. He's such a talented ball player, and he went from strength to strength in Super Rugby this season. He was immense in that final against the Highlanders. Sorry, Carl, but he was incredible. But yeah, you did ask Carl, so I'll throw this question back to you, Steve. Who would you, if you're, Fozzie gives you a call and says, mate, I'm not too sure, I know you know a lot about the loose forwards. I'm not too sure who should pick against Australia. What 3 names are you giving him?
Can we just clarify for a start? Fozzie will not be calling me for any advice whatsoever. But to be honest with you, I think it's horses for courses because I'm listening to Carl's loose forward show, and I'm just thinking, we're going up against the Springboks next week, who are going to have 5 guys over 7 foot. It just worries me. That's the only reason I said about Barrett. All those loose forwards are outstanding, but what does your line-out look like? Without somebody like a Barrett at 6, and obviously Artie's going to be there in one of those positions, and then it's just what you put around it, I think.
Yeah, it's All Black insight for you. I've played all of my rugby as reserve grade
So
the backs. I know nothing about the forwards.
So that Artie, that was one name. You don't have two others for us, or?
Well, I mean, call me biased, but I thought Luke Jacobson, as I've said on this podcast before, was outstanding during Super Rugby. So he would be in the mix. But again, where are you playing Artie? Is he at 8? Is he at 7? And so that obviously determines whether it's either a Dalton or a Luke Jacobson in the loose with him. And then obviously Hosky Satutu has got to be there somewhere too. So yeah, I think you could mix and match this group a little bit, and I don't know if you'd commit to a 3 all the way through.
Yeah, sure.
When's Sam Cane due back?
I'm not till about September. I was just doing some back of the packet maths on, I think it was 4 to 6 months after his surgery, but I couldn't find an official date of when he actually went under the knife. So yeah, it won't be for at least the start of the Rugby Championship. He'll be unavailable. I just want to give a bit of a shout out to Ethan Blackadder. Personally, I think, we sort of think if we're thinking Artie and Satutu are going to be 2 of the 3 there, and then you maybe, as Steve was saying, want more of an line-out option in the 6 jersey. Blackadder, he has played a bit of lock through the representative or the domestic levels, so I think he was someone I really caught my eye the last couple of Super Rugby seasons. Discipline might be the one question with him. I don't know how the All Blacks would feel against a South Africa or an Argentina if they're really under the pump throwing him out there, but I think he's certainly that big body who could contribute at the set piece and does a lot around the park, really strong ball runner. So that's one for me. How about you, Paul? You've stayed noticeably quiet for you in this whole conversation.
I guess when you are talking about a group of positions like the loose forwards, and you're sort of talking more along who are the guys that are going to miss out, not play, it just goes to show the strength that you do have in that position. I had a look at another side, and I thought another group of positions, and I thought the midfielders was one where we probably didn't have well, we've been hurt by injuries, and the fact that the All Black selectors said whakaaua to Ngani Lomapi. So, okay.
I don't know why you're looking straight at me as you say that.
We don't need them anymore. But what they do have, they still have a very, very solid group of players there. And when the other boys come through their injuries, that'll just add to the mix. And I think 1 or 2 of those players may just be sort of keeping the seat warm for other guys who are going to come back later in the year.
Yeah, well, Jack Goodhue's obviously gone for the year, but he's going to walk straight back into the squad, presuming he's, recovers fully from his ACL next year. But yeah, were there any other sort of positions of particular strength, or any areas you're really excited to see who the All Black selectors end up landing on when you look at that squad? I'll throw you first, Carl.
Something else I mentioned last week, going away from that 10-10 combo at 10 and fullback. I'm excited to see an actual 10 and an actual fullback on the park, and then same on the bench. Interesting to see how and when Bodie gets on, and then Finlay Christie as well. Give us a little precursor to the Blues next season. Should be
of course.
Should be cool to see. So yeah, I'm excited to see the new, if it is a new direction, which I hope it is, that we go back to that traditional 10-15 mix and how they play it.
For sure. How about you, Steve? I don't know if there's anywhere else. We sort of touch on the loose forwards a lot, but maybe in the back line, is there a position you think we're particularly blessed in at the moment, or anywhere you're really excited to see the young guys give it a go?
Yeah, just back to Carl. Are you talking about the 15 that's playing 15 that was actually at his best when he was playing 10 this season? But
the golden Beaver winner, yeah.
No, I mean, very much on the same lines. Obviously, we're absolutely blessed with our 10 depth and our 15 depth, and where it all lands is, I guess, not so much exciting but intriguing. I think it's going to be, people are going to talk about this for a month leading up to the first big test, I think, of the year. Who's going to be the starting 10? Who's going to be the starting 15? And again, obviously, the midfield, and it was touched on, but I guess I was a bit surprised that Laumapi was allowed to walk out the country, because I just thought he offers a point of difference that we don't have in many of the other midfielders. They're all outstanding footballers, but Laumapi just a different body and offers a different range. So for me, I reckon Rieko Ioane's the one that could I guess, be the wild card amongst it all. If he's got the potential to be an absolute superstar at centre, and you don't learn defence at centre overnight, and that would be probably his only issue going forward. But the more time he gets there, a midfield of himself and a Leonard Brown or something would be pretty exciting. So be interesting to see how he goes the next few weeks, and if they give him, he might be someone that they just invest in and give him all games leading up to the weekend. Not the weekend, the big test. So just to get him time there. So who knows? But yeah, I'm excited to see how he goes, to be fair.
Yeah, I'd have to say that too. And I mean, Rico, I believe he started at centre in the first test of last year against Australia at the Cape Town, right? So the selectors have obviously penciled him in, and so someone they see as, could go far in that 13 jersey. He's obviously got the opportunity now to really run with that. So it'll be interesting to see what he does over the next 3 or so weeks. I'm just pulling up the squad here. I guess the next question, we sort of touched on a few different jerseys, but what jersey would you say is the most wide open at the moment, Paul? Like, what if you were setting odds on a jersey? Who would be the longest price favourite for a particular jersey around the park, do you think?
Outside of the 13, I think there's some really good sort of battles going to be going on in the front row, and especially the hooking jersey. I think you could throw any one of the three in the squad, and that'd be great to start. I'm glad that Dane Coles is getting a start here, and boy, I don't know when Omur will get on the field, but I feel for the Tongans now, because when he does get on, they're going to know about it. He showed during the Super Rugby comp, he is such a devastating runner. And not only does he have the power, he has a bit of speed to go with it as well. So that'll be really, really exciting. Obviously, I think Dane Coles might have the sort of the head in front at the moment. But I mean, the players that have missed out, Ash Dixon, you could throw him in there.
Oh, what does he have to do to get a run?
He would not look out of place. No. We have a great set of hookers in New Zealand at the moment.
Two Chiefs hookers as well. Nathan Harris and Slater have been sort of around the camp the last few years as well. So yeah, there's certainly no. Kurt Eklund was awesome all Super Rugby season long as well. Another one who's pretty great with ball in hand. Looked really good for the Maori All Blacks when he came on Saturday night. So yeah, there's no shortage of depth there. How about you, Steve? Is there any jersey you're particular? I know the coaching staff are obviously going to rotate a little bit here and there, but when it does come down to naming the first squad for the first big test, is there any other jersey you're particularly intrigued to see who lands that?
Oh yeah, for me, for the first big one, it'll be the third. Depending if Leonard Brown's available, it'll be the other midfield position. That'll be the one that for me will be intriguing.
And you, Carl?
Probably nothing outside of what we've touched on, but maybe the right wing. We've got. I know you love that they tend to chuck fullbacks out into the wing.
Well, the fullback they've chucked on the right wing for this test, I'm a massive fan of on the right wing. So
there's maybe that right wing spot. Either of the wings really.
Yeah, for me, the other one I just wanted to touch on was the second lock alongside Scott White. Like I know Steve mentioned before, Brodie's back from Japan and he's in the squad. He was one name I sort of thought we might see on the team list this week. Just they'd be keen to get a few yards in his legs after being overseas for 18 months.
How long has he been out of quarantine? Has he been out quite a while? Has he?
I'm not too familiar with his travel plans, to be honest.
Yes, he has been. He has been.
Right, yeah.
Oh, has he been around your place?
No, his team lost. Made a shock exit, so he's been out of quarantine quite some time.
Are we talking Waikato Club Rugby?
No, I don't think he's been stalking the club rugby fields, that's for sure.
Yeah, so obviously Brodie, before he went over to Japan, he was one of, if not the best player in the world, and I'm really intrigued to see. Fingers crossed he returns to that form, because if he is at that level, he's the first lock they name, and then Sam Whitelock slots in next to him. But yeah, if it does take him a little while to get back to that pace. Scott Barrett, Patrick Tuipulotu obviously was immense during Super Rugby. We touched on
huge for the Blues.
The Blues dodged a bullet when they had to sub him back on last Saturday night. So yeah, he's another guy you can't.
Carl, it's
been 2 weeks. I know.
forget about it. Move on.
Can't.
Hey.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm still bringing up the 2015 final, so I can't blame Carl. For
Oh,
bringing it
gee,
up.
that was now,
Talk about that all day.
That was a travesty.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that's the one I circled. One last question I wanted to touch. Actually, I've got two more down here, but just really interested to hear from you guys. Steve, I'll start with you as probably the man with the most, the most keenly trained rugby eye here. But are there any guys who probably you wouldn't associate with being clear automatic choices in a particular jersey at the moment, who you think sort of we're having this conversation again in 3 or 4 months' time, and that guy's just taken that jersey and he's said, I'm starting here. This is my jersey. Is there anyone you've got circled you think will make that step up this All Black season?
Well, I mean, if you're going on the back of Super Rugby, and again, there's a few variables here because Sam Cane's come back and Artie's Artie. So, but I just think on the back of what Dalton Papali'i's produced this year, you'd have to think he could be primed to have a year where he cements himself as a real All Black, I guess, and is one that just has never even thought about sort of selection time. He's just there, So I think he's primed to have a big one. So yeah, he'd be the one. But as I say, when they all come back, it's going to be a fairly hotly contested area, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I think, it'd be interesting to see with Papali'i as well, with Sam Cane obviously not there right now. Maybe they want to get Artie used to playing in the role he'll play with Sam Cane, sort of back to that 8 or 6 with that. So maybe Dalton just becomes sort of the Sam Cane surrogate in the meantime.
In the 7.
Yeah.
How about you? Would you play him at 6 with Artie at 7, the Tutu at 8?
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I think that third.
They do have a lot of options.
We could go back and forth on this third list forward merry-go-round all day,
Doesn't
right?
really make a difference anymore, does it? It's just a number.
How about you, Paul? Is there anyone you think will really claim a jersey this season?
Possibly Will Jordan. If he gets a fair go over the next 3 weeks, he might just stamp his name on the 14 jersey.
How many tries does he have to score in the next 3 weeks?
Well, yeah, I think he'll be scoring 4 or 5 on Saturday night. So he's going to have to score a few, I'd say. But I think he's looked the goods for the Crusaders. He just seems to be, he's the sort of player who's the right man in the right spot at the right time.
Well,
always.
That game he came on, about half an hour to go against Argentina in Newcastle for I think that was his debut, and two tries where Pablo wasn't necessarily coming his way, but he just pounced on loose balls and he was gone. Yeah.
Play just seems to, it's sort of like a cricket player who is out in the field and he takes 4 or 5 catches because the ball just, and he takes one at cover, he takes one at third man, just the ball keeps following him around the field. And I think Will Jordan's the same sort of player. The ball just seems to follow him and pop up at the right time, and he reaps the reward. So, I'd like to see him get a fair dinkum go.
Yeah, no, he's one name I did have down in this category as well. How about you, Carl? Was there anyone you had circled?
Circled the big man, Patrick Tuipulotu. I think if he gets a crack or, has a couple of decent stints off the bench and they give him a start, it's there for the taking, I think. Be hard with, as you say, with Big Brody coming back. And
it looks like he's number 4 on the list.
Scott Barrett.
Probably.
Depends who you
ask.
Which
is hard to see. I don't know. He had an awesome Super Rugby season, and
he's done well whenever he's been given a starting crack for the All Blacks as well, right? So
so, matter of minutes, I think.
Yeah, the one I had circled, and I'm wary about launching too much into the loose forward conversation again, but I think Hoskins Sotutu by September, October is the All Black number 8, and it's not up for discussion. He's just that guy, and it's I think he's next in Zambrock.
Could you let Luke Jacobson know, Beaver?
I will.
Patrick's put the lines for it.
And Artie Savea, because I don't know if you realise only 3 can be on the field.
Yeah. Well, I'd go, for now, this is completely pie in the sky. I'd have Jacobson at 6, Hoskins at 8, and Artie at 7. Sam Cane obviously throws a spanner into those particular works when he comes back. But the way Hoskins and Jacobson both played during the Super Rugby season, that's what my starting list would. And I really like the versatility there with Luke, and Artie in particular can sort of play, like you said, Carl, the position doesn't really matter too much between those 3, especially against some of these packs. We won't be such an issue getting physical dominance. You can have the more skillful guys there sort of terrorizing the midfielders and whatnot. So that's my 2 cents, not that it's worth any more than the 2 cents I just quoted. So, last question I want to just run past you guys before we move on to all the upcoming footy is just a few new caps in the squad. Obviously, Quinta Pye, we've already touched on. Ethan Blackadder, Finlay Christie, Ethan de Groot as well. One of the new faces who's not in the squad this week, but then and a few obviously guys who haven't had a lot of run in the All Blacks shoes. But is there anyone out of those guys you're particularly excited to see get a run out for the ABs, Paul?
Finlay Christie. He thoroughly deserves his selection in the squad. I'd love to see him get a start. I'm sure he will get a start in either of the two tests against Fiji. He's a wee bit of a dynamo behind the forward pack there. He guided that Blues pack around the field very, very well during the Super Rugby season. He's just he looks like he's full of energy, and he's still full of energy after 80 minutes. I've seen them talk to him after the game. It looks like he'd go another 80 minutes if he wanted to. So
not working hard enough.
He just seems to have so much energy, and really, really keen to see him get a start.
How about you, Carl?
Yeah, second to that.
Right.
Excited. When was the last time we had a full redhead in the All Blacks? He's a standout like a sore toe when he gets on.
Go the Ginge.
Well, we know this podcast is very fond of ginger halfbacks in general. So, yeah. How about you, Stephen? Are you jumping on the Finlay Christie bandwagon too?
Yeah, very much so. And I was actually very much on what Carl was point he raised. Aesthetically, I just want to know what it's going to look like with Finlay in a full black outfit. Don't know how it's going to visually on your television, but I'm looking forward to it.
Especially against Fiji if they're wearing their full white as well. It'll be a real contrast.
Yeah, should be good. Yeah. That's I think wraps up our All Black squad chat. Lot of questions will be answered no doubt over the next 6 weeks or 4 months, but yeah, should be. Hopefully, we'll get a clearer picture soon enough. Anyway, onto the footy this week. We'll obviously start at Mount Smart Stadium. The All Blacks will be lining up for the first time ever, I think, playing a test at Mount Smart. Saturday 7:05 kickoff against Tonga. Opened as barely 75.5 points. I think the line was when it first started. It's now shot out to 79 after I think the bookies realised Tonga were missing a few of their key players. It's
I'm surprised that Beaver didn't get a call. Crikey, unless he's thrown his boots away, he could be lining up there on Saturday night.
For Tonga.
Yeah.
I don't.
Surely that's
what's the bloodline?
Well, there's
there?
A grandmother or their great grandmother somewhere. Crikey,
You've
just
been
keep looking.
Talking to Nathan Thien recently or something.
Wow. Great for those club players who get the opportunity to turn out for Tonga and play against the All Blacks. It'll be the highlight of their rugby career.
Yeah.
But wow.
It's a tough ask, right?
Oh boy. I know the line's moved to 79.5. I still don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I mean, in the last game these two teams contested was just before the 2019 World Cup in Hamilton. The All Blacks won 92-7. But I was looking back at just to refresh my memory, and the All Blacks actually scored all those 92 points in the first 60 or 65 minutes. And then, was it Ryan Crotty picked up an injury, so they just chose to play with 14 men for the last quarter of an hour, and Tonga only got over the line in the last minute. So they clearly weren't too bothered about playing, getting to the triple figures mark here.
And the strength of the Tongan squad back then was far superior to the team, certainly experience-wise. They were way ahead of this Tongan team, but oh boy.
Well, yeah, I've actually got it noted down here. I believe Sam Whitelock himself has 36 more international caps than the entire Tongan 23 combined.
Wow. Wow.
Look, it'll be a big thrill for a lot of those boys, and I'm sure the fastest we see some of them run is after the final whistle when they all go to try and grab Bowden Barrett's jersey or I don't know, someone's jersey, because let's be honest, it's going to be one-way traffic.
It is a shame, though. I was just thinking before, there's a few guys floating around the New Zealand domestic scene who probably have their eyes on the All Blacks. Lester Fine-Ganuku was one just off the top of my head who he's obviously probably doesn't want to declare his allegiance for Tonga because he'll be in line for an All Black jersey sooner rather than later. But it just feels like this should be something World Rugby could do, where you do get these guys a bit more international experience.
A free pass. Just for this game.
Sort of how Rugby League does, where you have your tier 1 and tier 2, and you can actually, I know Malakai Fukitoa, he's re-eligible for Tonga now leading into the World Cup, but he obviously couldn't get through quarantine and everything in the meantime. So, but it is a shame we couldn't get more.
Especially if you want to grow the game. The Pacific game, right?
yeah, like it is an awesome opportunity for these Tonga guys, and I don't want to, undermine that or come across as too, but there's a strong grammatic contingent amongst the Tonga team. Sort of
I
thing.
don't recognise a lot of names.
No.
Here. I don't know if Beaver, who's a wee bit closer to the counties region, whether he can say, no, I've seen a couple of those boys running around in club footy.
Yeah. Do you have anyone for us to keep an eye on Saturday night, Steve?
No, obviously Zane Capelli's name probably jumps off the sheet at me, but yeah, you're right. Everything you've been saying, it's a downscaled Tongan team. Won't be in size, but it's as far as ability, it's probably not what you're used to. And I don't know if that 79 points at the moment is still not generous enough. If it's a half dry day at Mount Smart.
Looks like the forecast at the moment is,
I did check the weather.
you know what Auckland weather's like, but at the moment it looks like the sun is around for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Beaver, were you big on jersey swaps in your time?
No, not really. All Blacks the only one I ever wanted, and it just didn't feel right a whole lot of times swapping it. I mean, every now and again when someone came and pestered you hard enough for it, I'd swap, but...
if I played against you, I'd be filthy if you didn't give me your jersey. I would be absolutely filthy.
I'd be trying to slip away, put it in the bag, shower, and when they come into the changing room and look for you, just usually if the physio or someone came and said, "Oh, Beaver, someone here wanting to swap your jersey," say, "Oh, tell them I'm just out making
onto the laundry."
What have you done with all them post career?
What's that? Sorry.
What have you done with all your jerseys post career?
Not a whole lot, to be fair. And in hindsight, probably should have swapped more. But no, the majority are sitting in a suitcase. So, not a whole lot. Given a few good mates and stuff, but fair few still.
We've got an OBU Teddy Bears number 10 jersey at home if you want to arrange a swap.
Right, this is embarrassing. Do you go white baiting in an old All Black jersey?
No. Should I don't disrespect it that much. No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No particular jersey swap stories you want to share on the podcast, I'm presuming. I'll let you just shake your head quietly if you want me to move on to the next point. Or
no. To be fair, actually, when I went overseas and played with a fair few boys at different, like Bath and in Japan, that would once I got great mates with a few like Francois Lowe and Horacio Guggia from Argentina, we just swapped jerseys amongst each other. So that probably meant more than the alternatives, to be fair.
So have you got a full Bath 15 in the suitcase as well as the?
There's a lot of Bath jerseys there too.
Back to the game at hand though. Before we get too lost in this, it's obviously not
old boys Teddy Bears. Fair dinkum.
Mate, these are prized positions of mine.
I'm not going to get into the value of various club jerseys around the Wellington region either, because that'll definitely get me in some serious trouble. But there are some 100-year anniversary Eastbourne jerseys floating around as well. I can imagine if you want to get your hands on one of those, Steve. But now my next question to you guys just around the All Blacks versus Tonga game. I presume we'll have a lot of power plays up in the near future once the bookies get their hands on the team lists. But as of now, it's probably not the most enticing betting proposition, other than depending what side of the 79.5 is. So I just want to, is anyone predicting another triple figure score on Saturday night?
Yes.
You are, Paul?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Carl?
Yeah, I've been looking at it all day, and the 79.5 has scared me. I thought it was too much, but you guys have talked me into it.
There are times when the All Blacks play against second or third tier nations, and as you get into the game, I think the second and third tier nations, some of them try to play spoilers to a certain extent. I don't think this team can even play that role. Even if they do the same thing that they did when Crotty went off injured, what was it, 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years ago?
But there's not a World Cup to prepare for where they would want to practice playing with 14 men, right?
No.
They'd be more interested in getting guys time out on the park.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if by some crazy thing a couple of guys got some injuries and they had no one else to put on, they just finished the game the last 10, 15 minutes with 14 men. I still don't, even then, I can't see this All Black team not scoring 100 points.
Yeah, the one thing that did touch on my mind, but I'm not sure, I'll throw to Steve for this because he can speak more to the mindset of a pro athlete than any of us. But is there going to be any sort of, guilt about the All Blacks running up a triple figure score on, what's essentially, especially in the second half, maybe a few club players? Could you see them taking their foot off the gas, or will it very much be these new guys take it like really wanting to put on a show for the coaching staff and selectors?
Yeah, I could not imagine guys about to make their debut for the All Blacks thinking, I better just do the right thing here and take it easy. No, I think 100 points is on, and as long as it stays good weather, I think the thing about the All Blacks when they come down to play this sort of level, the conditioning that the All Blacks have compared to, say, Tonga that they're playing against, their fitness levels, I mean, when Damien McKenzie and the likes have been running you ragged for 60 minutes, and then they bring on the Barretts and a Finlay Christie in his debut and Blackadder and the likes. The speed of the game is going to be what really breaks the Tongans, I think. And I think the 100 margin is very much alive this weekend.
Yeah. One sub as well. You didn't mention the Asafo Moore coming off the bench. Imagine the he's going to do with. So Steve and Paul have both nailed their flag to the mast for 100 points. Are you on the same?
Yeah, like I said, you've convinced me, and I've just had a look at the alternate point start. And you get minus 99.5 for $8.30. So
you have to. Yeah,
I do like chasing value. So
it will not be a fun watch being on any sort of plus in this game.
No,
as well. You're going to be terrified for 85 odd minutes. Yeah, so
100 points is a lot though.
It does, but like $8.30. That's suggesting there's a 12% chance that the All Blacks. I'd have to say it's much higher than that. So yeah, I think if I had to pick a bet for that game, I'd be leaning towards that one. Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to touch on from the All Blacks Tonga match before we head around the grounds for the rest of the weekend's international action?
Just excited to see the All Blacks back.
Yeah,
always
good,
right? Always a good time of year.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got 4 other sort of games I've highlighted this week as noteworthy. New Zealand Maori obviously playing Samoa again. They as the curtain raiser or first game at Mount Smart on Saturday evening. Then South Africa play, I think, their first test since they lifted the World Cup. They're playing Georgia and South Africa in a warm-up for the Lions series. The Lions are taking
closed doors.
I have to imagine so, given what's going on over there. So yeah, that behind, and then also behind closed doors, probably the Lions taking on the Lions on Sunday morning. And I think the game we all sort of touched on before the podcast is potentially the game of the weekend. Ireland taking on Japan in Dublin on Sunday morning as well. Japan
under strength. Ireland.
Yeah, very under strength, because not only are they missing, I think, 7 or 8 guys to the Lions, to 3 guys who were not selected for the Lions, and Johnny Sexton, Ken Healy, and
Ryan James. No,
Keith Earls. Ryan James, Canberra Raiders, isn't he?
Is he? he's not in my fantasy team.
Sexton and Ken Healy, they're probably the big ones. They've also chose to set out this game. So just is there any of those games you guys particularly wanted to touch on, or anything you're looking forward to from the rest of the weekend?
I thought the Māori All Blacks last week were pretty impressive, particularly the back 3. They were on fire, very fast. I don't know if that was the Samoans quite slow, but they Wainui, Stevenson, and Trask, they were all very fast. A lot of movement and a lot of shape and attack from the Māori All Blacks. Reminded me of watching NRL, Melbourne Storm or something like it. It was very cool to watch.
Nice try scored by Formai, the winger, the Samoan.
Towards the end of the first half.
Yeah. Nice. So he showed some skill there.
Very opportunistic.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And what were horrible conditions in Wellington on Saturday?
They weren't the best.
They
weren't the best.
It was not a weekend I was upset I didn't have to play footy.
Ash Dixon, I was just about to say.
And Kurt Eklund as well, did he?
Yeah.
No, Ash Dixon off the rolling ball. Was there any notes you had from the first Māori All Black Samoa game, Steve?
No, I mean, I think they'll certainly be an improved game this weekend, I think. But just a little bit disappointing from Samoa. But I guess it's the way of the world at the moment. They can't get everyone back, and very much, they can just get back, I guess, people from this part of the world, which makes it fairly difficult for a team that, like Tonga, like Fiji, a lot of their stars are up in France, up in the UK.
Yeah, so the line at the moment is about the same, that 24.5 as it was last week. The Maori All Blacks $1.02 head-to-head or something.
And they
like
won
that.
by 25.
Yeah.
Was it 25?
25.
25. So
Yeah.
Carl, I know you're on the 21-30. Got a bit of value there. So
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yep.
Who are we expecting to benefit more from the extra week in camp and sort of?
Māori All Blacks.
Yeah, I think you'll see a bit of improvement from both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the Samoans, they had a wee bit of a sort of a rushed preparation, I guess. Another week will be certainly good for them. I think the fact that there'll be a crowd at this game will certainly lift them. I'm sure they, all teams, I'm sure, feed off the energy of a crowd. But
I'm hoping, it should be a pretty good atmosphere there. You get
there'll be a few blue jerseys in the crowd. I'm sure there will be.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, they'll get a certain amount of support. But yeah, you can. Although the Maori played really, really well, I'm expecting them to step up again as well. I can understand why the line is pretty much where it was last week as well. It was spot on.
Sure. You leaning towards the minus, Carl, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, just being in the camp for another, like you say, they'll both get better, but the Māori All Blacks ceiling is a lot higher than Samoa's ceiling. So,
sure.
Yeah.
And you tend to think that probably Maori All Blacks have got a bit more improvement in them as well, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they'll benefit most from everything that's going on, and they've probably, a lot of them probably got maybe more to play for, to be fair.
Yeah, sure. So I will just sort of throw it open now. Do a bit of a best bet segment. It's not dissimilar to a few of the rounds of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman when you look at the head-to-head odds for these games. You got Ireland as $1.22 favourite, the biggest odds of any of these favourites from the games we touched on. But I'm just going to go around the grounds and get a best bet from each of you for the weekend. Steve, I'll let you lead off the batting as our guest here. What have you got circled? If you have a bet on the footy this weekend, what are you doing?
Well, I don't know if it's. Are we going a value as well, or is this the one bet?
No, we'll get a value bet as well off you, so you can.
Okay.
You can
Okay. Well, no, they're the same thing for me. Japan at 3.95.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Nice.
I just, I think the Japan team got stronger from that World Cup. They don't have the weight of expectation, and they still beat Ireland at full strength in a World Cup situation. Ireland's a whole lot weaker. I can't believe the odds that you're generously dishing out to us this weekend, to be fair.
Japan weren't bad last week either.
No.
They look pretty good in attack.
Yeah, the Lions jumped out to that 21-0 lead pretty quickly, but that wasn't necessarily a complete domination. And then they have very much held their own after that. And that was along the same lines as what we said with the All Blacks against Tonga. That was a Lions team full of guys who weren't necessarily first choice, really needing to prove themselves to get their hands on red jerseys for the tests. And Japan more than held their own for the last 50 or 60 minutes of that game. And they'll only be better. I presume we'll see, like, Hamino, I imagine, will come into the starting team. Ireland are just missing. So they're almost missing a first 15, like, 2/3 of a first 15. Yeah. Murray and Sexton alone are massive outs for them. Then you've got Tag, Furlong, Keane, Healy in the front row. Like, that was, I won't go on about it anymore, but that was my best bet of the week as well. Just Japan at the start, I think it's 11.5 at the moment is my best bet. So, very much think that they'll I can't see them getting blown out whatsoever. How about you guys? Best bets of the week?
I've gone Japan plus as well. Yeah.
You, Paul?
All Blacks minus 79.5.
That's I can see that very much so. Steve, I'd take it your best and value, just Japan head-to-head for both. Don't need to come back to you.
Oh, whatever I like, and it doesn't get resolved this weekend, but $1.97 for the Lions series winner you're offering for South Africa at the moment. I like that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because I cannot believe the Springboks are underdogs for this.
Yeah. You mean favourites? Oh, sorry, the underdog.
Yeah,
right.
I guess it's just the layoff, but you look at the team they've named for that Georgia game, it's still very imposing. They've got that Detoy and Khaleesi on the flanks, and the tight five still as monstrous as ever. So I think they're great value. And the first test, the overall, everything there, I'd be all over the Springboks, but that's still a few weeks down the track. Have you guys got a bit of value for us too?
Yep. I've gone a little bit leery and sticking with the Japan and Ireland game. Draw at half or full time at $10.
Wow.
Probably leaning more towards half time there, but it's a bit of value. $10.
All Blacks minus 93.5 at 4.55.
I'll go the whole lot.
Yeah,
Go
I know.
99.5, you wuss.
I went 93.5. And I'm going to have a few bets on
One more try.
the alternate point start, and I'll just be ticking them off as each try is scored.
No, I originally did have circled as my value bet just Japan head-to-head as well. I think that's well worth the little nudge there. But the All Blacks minus 99.5 at $8.30 or whatever it is. Just after talking it over with you lads, it does look pretty appealing for a little nibble there. So I'll be having a go on that too. What about just as well another one, multi-anchor? What are you running through all your multis this weekend, Paul?
All Blacks minus 65.5 at $1.25.
And you, Carl?
I've got the Maldives minus 25.5 at $1.87.
Steve, what are you?
No, I just got to admit that why some of this podcast chat's been going on, I have been placing some bets, and I have gone to 99 point. And I've just multiplied up my Japan and South African series winner. So
committed to the cause.
Yeah.
Committed to the cause. How
Yeah.
good.
You witnessed it here live.
I didn't have a specific multi-anchor nailed down though, but so I'm just going to the Japan South Africa Georgia game. We haven't given that too much of a shout out, but Roscoe Speckman's $1.45 to score a try. He's on debut for the Springboks, I believe, and we've seen what he can do in sevens and for the Bulls. So that man's dotting down. I'll chuck him in as my multi-anchor for one from a bit of right field there.
Nice.
Love his work. So yeah, that'll be me. That's end of all the official business for this week of the Pick and Go podcast. Is there any last notes anyone wants to shout out before we let the punters get back to their days?
I did have one more question.
Oh, go on then.
And trophies for every game now. Every game played, there's a trophy. What? Why?
What trophy?
Why can't we just play it for nothing?
Are you talking about an individual trophy for every player or a trophy for the game?
So there was a trophy for the Lions versus Japan last week. That's the one time that trophy will ever be played for. Why? What is it, Steve, Beaver? What does it? Is it a motivation thing? Is it I guess it's sponsorship. Is it?
I'd say. I don't think motivation. I think probably sponsorship. And when you're playing Japan, you make the most money you can out of playing that test match. Give it a sponsorship, and also makes for a great team photo at the end of the season. Got along the front of the photo.
When you do waterfall after waterfall out of the.
I'm guessing it doesn't look like a mace.
No, yeah, but this one also doesn't really look like you can drink out of, so I'm not really sure why they're bothering playing for it. So
yeah, I wasn't just picking on that particular trophy, but there just seems to be a trophy for every game.
Yeah, well, this is another good one for you, Steve. Were there any particularly memorable left field trophies you remember playing for during your playing days?
No, I mean just the sheer enormity of the Bledisloe Cup and drinking out of that was always my highlights.
How many beers?
I think it's something ridiculous, isn't it? I can't remember what the exact thing.
Well, I've heard you throwing back to us for this question.
But no, the only thing I do remember is it's not a smooth trophy. So when you actually are getting to it where it's sort of half fullish, it's quite spilly when you are drinking out of it.
Sure, it has nothing to do with the fact you may have had a few jars before the actual cup gets round to you.
No, I dare say there's a couple of dents in it.
I feel like this is probably a pretty good note to finish the podcast on before we get into too many more stories and get Steve into trouble. So thanks very much for joining us, Steve. It's been a pleasure having you on the pod. Always great to get a bit of insight from you. Hopefully we'll get you on again sometime later in the All Black season and see how our predictions have gone.
And yeah, I guess if you are going to have a bet like Beaver, gamble responsibly.
Do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Find that too.
Yeah. Just get it now before the price moves.
Beaver will move the price.
Yeah, Steve's account's probably got a red light flashing in the bookies office right now. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, cheers for joining us as well, boys. Hope you enjoyed the podcast this week, punters. We'll be back next week to recap the first test and look forward to what should be a pretty fun couple of tests against Fiji. So talk to you all again next week. Have a good week, punters.